Welcome back.
Sabrina?
I'm Sadie Guinness, and I'm going to explain everything that happened in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Part 3. This was definitely the craziest and most complicated season yet, so let's dive right in. Sabrina rescues Nick from hell, and they're able to actually take the Dark Lord out of Nick and put him into Father Blackwood, whom Prudence and Ambrose had captured in Scotland. But Sabrina and Nick don't get their happily ever after. Instead, Nick actually winds up breaking up with Sabrina because he needed some time and space to work through all this trauma he's endured.
You think?
Plus, he kind of had some Dark Lord residue in him for a little bit that caused him to totally act out and even hook up with some BDSM sex demons.
Which is fine.
Not judging for the sex demons, judging for cheating on Sabrina. In order to restore balance to the realms, Sabrina also agrees to become Queen of Hell.
That throne is mine.
Except Caliban, the sexy Prince of Hell made of clay, challenges Sabrina for the throne, and they have to compete in a set of 3 quests to retrieve the unholy regalia. Caliban wins the first round when he retrieves the crown of Herod, who was the one who ordered the Massacre of Innocents in the New Testament. But Sabrina wins the second round when she retrieves the bull of Pontius Pilate, who ordered Jesus' crucifixion. And when Sabrina isn't fighting to become Queen of Hell, she's facing off with an evil pagan carnival run by the Greek god of shepherds and flocks Pan, the Gorgon Nagaina, and the Greek goddess of magic Circe. This carnival wants to sacrifice virgins and kill everyone in Greendale so they can resurrect the Green Man, a mysterious figure that actually predates Christianity.
You know what it is,
The
though,
name.
right?
What is it?
Aliens.
Oh my god. The pagans also want to slaughter the witches as a blood sacrifice, plus as revenge for driving the pagans from the land long ago during the Unholy War. And the Coven can't really fight back because they no longer have their powers since they cut ties with the Dark Lord. In order to help them fight back against the pagans, the Coven calls upon the Hedge Witches and the voodoo priestess Mambo Marie, who doesn't get her powers from the Dark Lord. However, the Hedge Witches aren't able to help Agatha, who is driven mad by Pan, or Hilda, who was turned into a giant murderous spider monster by Circe.
Yeah.
I could not watch it. With seemingly no other option, Zelda kills Hilda, assuming she's gonna resurrect as human again. But not only does Hilda not resurrect as planned, but Agatha kills Dorcas, Prudence then kills Agatha, and then Blackwood kills Prudence. And Blackwood at that time had already separated from the Dark Lord after striking a deal with Lilith, in which he impregnated her with the Dark Lord's child and she gave him the Mark of Cain. This is fucking too much. With the Coven in chaos, the pagans move forward with their plan and kill Harvey as their virgin sacrifice and infect all of Greendale, turning them into plant flesh monsters, and they are successful at resurrecting the Green Man. The pagans also slaughter the Coven, but Ambrose is able to get away with this magical time egg he had confiscated from Blackwood. And if you're wondering where Sabrina is while all of her friends and family are being slaughtered, she is still busy chasing power, trying to become Queen of Hell, with her and Caliban competing in the third challenge to retrieve Judas's 30 pieces of silver that he was paid to betray Jesus. Sabrina is successful at retrieving the coins from their guardian, Vlad the Impaler, and she brings them back to Judas, who is imprisoned in the Ninth Circle of Hell, which is reserved for sinners guilty of treachery of those closest to them. Only it isn't Judas that Sabrina brings the silver back to, it's actually Caliban wearing a glamour. Caliban then swaps places with Sabrina and traps her in Hell, where she remains for decades, while Caliban becomes king and the realms just fall apart around her. While Sabrina is trapped, not only do the pagans wipe out her entire coven, but they also defeat Caliban in battle when he attempts to make Earth the 10th circle of Hell. And to make matters worse, then the Archangel Michael invades Hell with a celestial army and makes all the demons leave. Sabrina is eventually woken up by her future self, who has started a time loop thanks to the handy fact that the Ninth Circle of Hell exists in its own time pocket. Sabrina's future self trades places with her past self so that past Sabrina can reverse the apocalypse. Sabrina is joined by the Guardians of the Unholy Regalia, and together with Ambrose, they're able to use the Regalia and the power of the Time Egg to send Sabrina back in time to before the world ended, but after Hilda and Dorcas were killed. Led by Zelda, the Coven is able to resurrect Hilda by praying to Hecate rather than the Dark Lord or Lilith.
So what have I missed?
The Greek goddess of magic and witchcraft, Hecate is the keeper of the door between worlds and represents the 3 stages in a witch's life. She's basically a boss bitch, and now the Coven is officially the Order of Hecate and no longer the Church of Night.
We do not even have a virgin to sacrifice.
Yes.
With the help of Robin, Theo's new boyfriend and a former pagan follower who also happens to be a hobgoblin, they're able to come up with a plan to stop the pagans by sabotaging their virgin sacrifice. That was a weird wink. Using glamour magic, the witches are able to trick the pagans into using Pesta, the Witch of Rotten Decay, in their virgin sacrifice rather than Mary Wardwell. As a result, the Green Man is killed rather than resurrected. With their powers fully restored thanks to Hecate, the witches slay Pan, Nagaina, and Circe, and and are able to drive all the other pagans from the land. Sabrina is then supposed to complete the time loop by returning to the Ninth Circle of Hell and swapping places with her now past self.
If you don't, it could be chaos.
But instead, Sabrina travels back before any of that happened and meets her past self before she had even returned Judas's silver to the Ninth Circle. Those Sabrinas come up with a new plan. The past Sabrina kills Caliban and takes her place at the Dark Lord's side ruling Hell, and the future Sabrina returns home where only Ambrose knows the truth about there being two Sabrinas now. Although the realms do seem to come into balance after this, Ambrose warns Sabrina that she has created a time paradox and nothing but bad things will come as a result. And now it gets complicated. So what is the worst that can happen as a result of a time paradox? A whole lot, actually. There are several theories about how time travel works, but the one we see at play in Sabrina is the replacement theory.
Back to the Future? It's just like that.
This theory posits that you can travel to the past, but only if you ensure that your actions in the past don't prevent yourself from making that very trip.
I don't understand.
If Sabrina had traded places with herself as planned, then she would have created a closed infinity loop, but by allowing herself and her temporal doppelganger to live, Sabrina created a time paradox.
Everything has consequences.
By not completing this time loop, Sabrina has threatened the entire fabric of time and potentially the whole universe. So will one or both of the Sabrinas just start self-destructing next season? Will the rules of time and space just start bending and potentially destroy the whole universe? What is clear is that only one Sabrina can actually live. And so that's probably gonna force Sabrina to make some really tough choices and maybe learn a lesson she should have learned a very long time ago. All season long, Sabrina was being called out for being self-involved and power-hungry.
You still want the throne and to be queen.
We saw Sabrina continue her struggles to balance all of her obligations and relationships, but rather than really consider what other people might need or want, Sabrina was pretty entitled and pretty selfish and only really thought about what she wanted in that very moment.
Don't even.
In order to resolve this paradox she created, Sabrina might have to make a choice once and for all when the two Sabrinas decide which one will live, the Queen of Hell or the high school student.
Good question.
Of course, there's also a chance that Sabrina will resolve this paradox by going back in time to when she first freed herself from the Ninth Circle of Hell and complete the original time loop, thus erasing the timeline where there were two Sabrinas at all and potentially even a lot of the events that happen next season.
I know, it's complicated.
The time paradox isn't the only thing that Sabrina's gonna have to contend with in Part 4 either. Although Ambrose and Sabrina were able to defeat Blackwood with the help of the Dream Demon Batty Bat in the original timeline, because she went back and erased that timeline from existence, Blackwood was then free to steal the time egg and move forward with his own evil plan.
I call upon the eldritch terrors.
After regrouping with Agatha, who was alive in this timeline, and Judas and Judith, who are now teenagers, they are able to hash the time egg, and Blackwood warns that as a result of this, it's basically gonna bring about the end of all things. Plus,
The end of the Spellmans.
you made sure to note that. All season long, there were references to the work and influence of H.P. Lovecraft, the famous horror author. The creature that Blackwood originally gets the time egg from is a deep one, which is a species of creatures in Lovecraft's Cthulhu.
Cthulhu.
How? Google something else. Throughout the season, Blackwood also warns of eldritch terrors, which is referencing creatures that are so other they defy the laws of reality as we understand them, and they are native to Lovecraftian horror, aka cosmic horror. If all of this kind of sounds like nonsense to you, let me just give a quick primer on Lovecraftian horror. Some of the basic tenets of it are fears of the unknowable, things that make us feel completely inconsequential and helpless in the face of these vast and powerful cosmic forces that rule the universe. It also tends to undermine the notion of reality, questioning how much we can ever really know or understand. So based on all this, what the heck is Blackwood scheming? What did he just hatch? Both when Sabrina sees him in the post-apocalyptic timeline and when he hatches the egg in the new one, Blackwood references paying tribute to the void.
Brought them an offering.
Oh, they like offerings.
In Lovecraft's mythology, there is a god named Poseidon, who is also known as the Master of the Endless Void. Also, of Hash, the blood mad god of the void, who's basically a mass of tentacles and eyes. Both of these creatures and a lot of characters in the Lovecraftian mythos are ancient alien gods who are older than the oldest thing we can imagine. So did Blackwood switch from serving the Dark Lord to one of these great old ones? And if so, what does that mean moving forward? Is Sabrina about to introduce ancient alien gods? Maybe.
Finally.
The show also loves pulling from Greek mythology, so there's a chance it's gonna blend Lovecraftian horror with mythology, specifically the concept of chaos. You're attracted to chaos?
Yes.
You should see my therapist. Depending on the source, in Greek mythology, chaos was either a deity, what existed before existence, or, now this is interesting, the void between the realms. Plus, there is even a version of the mythology that says chaos contracts into an egg created by Kronos, the personification of time. If Blackwood just hatched chaos itself, it could fall in line with a lot of the clues we've gotten about the egg so far, including its ability to manipulate time, the potential for destruction, its really old age, and its ties to the void. Whether what Blackwood hatched is a purely Lovecraftian abomination or has ties to mythology, what is definitely clear is that it is capable of annihilation on a scale we have not seen in this show, and shit's gonna get real. This also means that whatever Blackwood hatched might be powerful enough to force Sabrina and the Coven to align with some of their previous foes. Eldritch Terrors do not care about the realm's alliances, and so it could force Sabrina to have some really interesting sort of allies next season. I would really love Sabrina and the Dark Lord and Lilith and angels to all have to team up and fight aliens.
We're the ones who are onto something.
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Part 3 left us with a ton of burning questions that make us need Part 4 as soon as possible. Let's break down the biggest ones. Will Lilith turn on Sabrina? I forgot what happens after that. The only reason the Dark Lord hasn't killed Lilith is because she's pregnant with his son.
It's merely a stay of execution.
Once the baby's born, Lilith is gonna have to find ways to protect herself, and the easiest way to do that is to put her son in a position of power and use his power as a shield for herself. However, it's extremely unlikely that the Dark Lord is going to want to share his throne with two heirs, so it's very possible Lilith is going to try and oust Sabrina or even assassinate her to put her son in a better position of power. Plus, there's the whole thing with this time paradox, and Lilith is pretty smart. She's probably going to figure out that there are two Sabrinas, and there is no way she is not going to exploit the situation to her advantage and Sabrina's disadvantage. What is next for all the romances?
I can explain.
No.
A lot of relationships went through some big changes this season. Sabrina and Nick broke up. Sabrina did a spell to stop having feelings for both Harvey and Nick. Harvey and Roz had sex. Theo got a boyfriend. Hilda and Dr. C got engaged. Ambrose and Prudence broke up. And Zelda started hooking up with Mambo Marie. So much happened this season, and I am dying to know what happens next for all of these couples, but especially Prudence and Nick.
Same.
With both of them feeling so lost and lonely and sort of unmoored right now, they seem to really find solace in each other in the season finale. There is a chance that this could just strengthen their friendship, or maybe it could develop into something more. I, for one, actually kind of love the idea of Prudence and Nick trying a romantic relationship next season. Prudence is my favorite character in this show, so I just want her to get everything she wants in life, and I want her to be happy. And if Nick makes her happy next season, then go for it. Let us know which couples you're rooting for in Part 4 in the comments below, and please watch more of our What the F videos.